Well, I was wrong. I thought last episode was the mid-season finale, but no, it's this week. So, I really like this episode. I like the twist of having Senior have a stroke, which, I mean, it makes sense. You know, he had to deal with a coup. It's possible he's aware that Olympia was the one who turned. I'm skeptical that he knows because he asked Eva to narc on them. So, and she didn't. So maybe he doesn't, maybe he does. If there's one thing the show has done is you don't know what anybody knows at any point. So I thought, okay, are they going to just draw this out? So, it's like, are they going to do all this work to pin it on Senior only for him to die? I'm worried that they're going to make Julian a villain. That this is his villain origin story. First, there's Sarah, who was taking pictures of his date book. Now he finds out that Olympia and Maddie are working in behind his back. And he rightfully probably thinks that they're working against him. Where this wouldn't have happened if they just told him what the hell is going on instead of keeping him out of the loop, because Maddie and Edwin want to pin it on him if something happens to Senior, which I do not like. So I'm hoping that when Olympia said, we are going to make sure that someone pays no matter what, that she meant one of the executives, which, as Maddie said, we already know that the pharmaceutical companies had a role to play in the opioid crisis. We want to bring down the lawyer who made it possible. So now the question is, what's going to happen now? Did they also write out Sarah? Or is Maddie going to find out about what Sarah did and she's going to convince Olympia to keep Sarah on? Or is Sarah gonna join Julian, sort of, treated as penance for what she did by working with him, which he's a junior associate now, so he doesn't get a team. So I have no idea what they're going to do with Sarah. Billy has been written off in the crappiest way possible. I was really hoping that Senior would get pissed off about someone spying on Julian and have Billy take the fall, kind of the way Emmeline took the fall for Maddie. So, but that did not happen. We just hear him that Claudia had a miscarriage, which to me is not a good reason to write him off for the season. Write him off of the show because, okay, she had a miscarriage. That's not going to, obviously it's going to take time to process for both of them, but not to the point where he has to quit his job. So, unless they come up with something else when they return from break, when they come back for the second half of the season, the question then is, are they going to come up with a better story for why Billy isn't around? Because that works for the one episode. But how are they going to explain his absence for the rest of the season, if not the rest of the show, provided it gets picked up for a third season? So there were a lot of parallels. The case of the week was this young man who turns out to be gay, who, when it's discovered that he's gay, because he has no reason to think that if he brings his boyfriend to a barbecue that the firefighters are going to go all homophobic on his ass. He thinks everybody's hanging out, having a good time, and then because he dares to be gay, he gets, someone tries to legit kill him by detaching his air hose. And I'm so mad at the verdict that it was a matter of found not guilty, not liable. And of course, it's because they just look at, these are firefighters, they're heroes, they put their lives on the line. They couldn't have possibly, been a bunch of bigots, because, they should take their job seriously. Granted, they do, but that does not preclude them from being freaking bigots. I don't know if they have something like this with firefighters, but it's like the thin blue line in police work. This idea that other cops will defend bad behavior of certain cops simply because these are colleagues, we've known them for a long time, the retaliation, blah, blah, blah. So Phil was supposed to testify because he wanted to do the right thing, which, Sarah gets a bigger Christmas bonus than usual. She hears him say that, and the guilt is eating at her, and it's been eating at her from the very beginning. And I'm sorry, if your guilt is eating at you, maybe stop doing whatever the fuck it is you're doing, because guilt is a pretty good indicator that you shouldn't be doing something. It's like Maddie said, you shouldn't feel guilty about something that isn't wrong. So if you're feeling guilty, you probably are doing something wrong. And it seems like from the very beginning she didn't feel good about what she was doing. It's like, okay, so why are we doing it? So, yeah. And the fact that, first off, I figured something was off from the very beginning with Senior, because he had a pronounced limp. So, I mean, he looked angry, but he generally does that this season. He looks very humorless this season. So I didn't think much of that, but he was limping, and I'm like, what did he do? What happened? And Olympia even asked him, are you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. So, and all of a sudden Julian cancels the meetings because his father had a stroke. Now, he seems to have gotten a lot off his chest by talking to his comatose father, which is why I'm seriously, seriously worried that this is a villain origin story for him. Because he didn't trust Olympia, didn't trust Maddie. He found out that he found this number on his father's phone, gave it to them, and he obviously must have known. He probably called that number already. Why he, is doing this. Why he wanted to catch Maddie, I do not know. And then he wanted to catch Olympia. It's like they're helping you, dipshit. They're asking you to spy on your father for them simply because they want to nail him for the Wellbrexa study so you get off scot-free. But he sees Olympia handing the Wellbrexa study to Maddie. And it's like, oh no. Please, instead of a villain origin story, please tell me he's going to confront them. Because, like I said, the showrunner said the second half of the season's all about Joy. So please tell me that Julian is going to confront one or the other, preferably both, about what he saw. Maybe he, knocks on the damn door. Because he's literally right outside Maddie's house. And I'm sure it's also a matter of, wait a minute. I thought Maddie lived here. How is she living in this mansion? I mean, so many questions. Which, if they had just looped him in when they realized that they were going to go after Senior. But because Maddie and especially Edwin still want to go after Julian, especially now that Senior may or may not survive, I worry that this is going to be a villain origin story. Now, like I said, the showrunner said the second half of the season is about Joy. So I'm hoping that he confronts them, they clue him in, that they're trying to pin this all on Senior, but they didn't want to tell him because, well, it's still his dad. So, just to make it easier in his interactions with Senior, that there's no question. Now, Olympia didn't tell Julian. Now, granted, he's dealing with his father having had a massive stroke. But she also didn't tell him about Sarah. So right now he thinks Sarah is an ally. So I wonder if the second half of the season is going to be Julian and Sarah working together, and which would be ironic, and Maddie and Olympia. Now, the irony is also that the reasoning Phil gave is, who do you protect? The guy you've known for 9 months or the guy you've known for 12 years? Because I didn't catch why he needed IV injections, but the captain was getting IV injections and he didn't want him to lose his health insurance. So Olympia basically did the same thing. Because why is she still working with Maddie? Which you could say that she screwed her over more than what Sarah did. Even though, yes, Sarah screwed over the coup attempt. But she just took pictures of his date book. It didn't say who organized the coup in New York. For all he knows, maybe Julian had something to do with it, because he was meeting with Eva, with one of his mothers. I don't know if he actually has a stepmother at this point. So she kind of did that herself. She chose Maddie over Sarah. And she is, if she had just explained to Julian what was going on, instead of listening to these old people or don't clue Julian in on this, it's like maybe, he wouldn't have been spying on them, and God only knows what's going to happen in the second half of the season. Like I said, I really, really hope everything works out, that he confronts them right there and on the spot, and they tell him what they're doing and why they didn't want to clue him in. And hopefully, all three of them will start working together. I really, really hope this isn't the villain origin story I think it's going to be. And what's going to happen to Sarah, I do not know. Because, like I said, Julian does not have a team of lawyers at his disposal because he's a junior associate. Because his father is humiliating him in every freaking way possible. Unfortunately, because he got everything off his chest, I'm worried that my earlier suggestion of using his childhood trauma to excuse his behavior and what he did with that study, I'm afraid that might have gone by the wayside. But maybe they can still do it, because just because he doesn't have the baggage now doesn't mean that he didn't then. This deep desire to impress his father, even though he was a shit dad. Let's see what else. I think I covered everything I wanted to this episode. I really, really wonder. I thought I heard at the beginning of the season that Julian's brother is going to show up. And, which, because Julian isn't the junior. Who is senior? We don't know senior's first name. We just know that it's not Julian. So he has a brother, I assume older, because usually it's the firstborn son who gets the father's name, if anything. So maybe he comes in and he becomes the stand-in villain. Or maybe he was also in on the Australia trip and had a hand in the Wellbrexa study. So even if Senior dies, they'll still have someone who isn't Julian. Maybe that's what Olympia was talking about. Maybe she knows about this brother. I mean, she was married to Julian, so it's highly likely she knows all his family, or at least about all his family. So that's also a possibility. I'm worried he's going the villain route, but I really, really hope they don't. I really hope they do not. What they're going to do with Sarah beats me. Because, Julian's not going to trust her. Maybe Maddie will convince Olympia to take Sarah back. Because, yes, she screwed up, but at least she came forward and admitted it, as opposed to waiting for you to find out like I did. So there's still a chance that Sarah might come back into the fold. I don't know who she would end up working for, because I didn't hear anything about her being written off. Her character being written off. But I guess that would, satisfy the fact that the drama of a he said, she said, because David Del Rio's wife, David Del Rio played Billy, his wife in real life, kind of pissed off at Leah. So, that she, what she did to their family. So it's possible that to deal with it, they're just going to fire both of them and not worry about the fact that this is a thing that happened. So nobody can say, oh, why is she still here? Even though um, he even though he was exonerated or whatever. This way, they don't pick sides. They're like, okay, you're both gone. And we're just going to figure something else out. I think I've covered everything I wanted to this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.